All right, you ready?
Hell yeah.
Cool. If you don't know me, my name is Mark, and I am known on YouTube as Truepokerdealer. And today is a very exciting day for me. I haven't actually gotten to interview anybody that works at Texas Card House with me, and there's nobody better to do this than you, Jay. And so thank you so much for coming here.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about today, and I am on True Poker Dealer. This is YouTube, and I am feeling a little bit like nervous and uncomfortable because yesterday there was something I was really excited to talk about, and I was asked to tone it down, and I'm totally fine with that. But we are here right now with, hopefully, how many people do you think we're talking about this from what you saw at Texas Card House?
Several dozen.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were excited for this interview, and I hope everybody comes and watches this. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk to Jay. Jay, you've been at Texas Card House since the very beginning, right?
2 months after it started.
Oh, interesting. Can you... So I actually don't know you that well. I never really got a chance to ask you your full story and all that stuff. I'm curious, just to start out, so you're a Dual Rate Supervisor at Texas Card House, which obviously I know that because I'm a dealer there right now. And can you just sort of tell me the story of how you even got to go to Texas Card House Dallas? Like, what were you doing before that, and how did you end up there?
Well, a brief history. I used to own Sprint franchises between Dallas, Irving.
You said Sprint?
Yeah, Sprint franchises.
Really?
So I ran a multi-million-dollar company. Did that for several years, about 10 years. Running your own business, people always talk about how great it is. You're the boss, you can do anything you want, you get a lot of flexibility. But the truth of the matter is when you're your own boss, you're the janitor, you're the sales, you're everything that needs to be done. The bookkeeper, the CEO.
Sorry, how many of these were you running at once?
So I ran three. I ran three initially, ran those, did it for 10 years, had several employees.
Wow.
And then from there, I sold my company. I got a really good offer, and I was able to sell it. And I got out before things went south, to say the least, before the economy slowed down. Also, after that, I got my real estate license. I tried it, I did it, and it wasn't for me. But then I also heard of legal rooms coming to Texas. Long story short, I've always been a poker player. I played casually with friends, and I also knew a lot of poker dealers. And when Texas Card House opened up, I knew a lot of my friends were saying, hey, I'm going to go apply and audition to be a poker dealer at Texas Card House. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Can you teach me?
Right.
They're like, oh, it's easy. Just grab some cards and just pitch them out. I'm like, well, there's techniques. How do you do it? I'll do it every day. As a poker player, you see it, but you don't ever realize the nuances of all the techniques, the amount of concentration. You don't think about all the intricacies that are involved. But then when you actually try to train for it, you're like, wow, I got to keep track of the whale, keep track of 9 players, be able to know all the rules.
So first of all, I didn't know that you did all of the franchise stuff. And I mean, how many hours of work a week were you working back then when you were doing this stuff and owning multiple franchises?
12 to 16 hours per day.
Per day, every day. And
every
so
day.
Was that the first time you ever worked that much in your life? Like for those 10 years of working in that?
I've always worked long hours. I've always worked 10 hours, 12 hours. So for me, that was just a normal part of my day.
What did you do before that? They got you working so many hours.
Our family-owned businesses.
I see. So you just, all right. So you were sort of bred for this in a way, right?
Yeah, not voluntarily. It's just one of those things kind of...
Back then,
yeah.
for those, whatever the family businesses were, okay. The initial reason that I wanted to do this live stream, that I was so excited about it, is in the month of July, I worked and this was totally by choice, and I was so happy to work at a place where I could choose to do this. I must have worked an average of 68 hours a week for 3.5 weeks. And I remember one week, I went to you and I said, hey, I bet I got you beat this week for number of hours. And I looked up on my phone, and I think I showed you it was 68 point something hours for that week. And you're like, no, I got 72. I was like, what the hell? I need to interview you because one of the things I really want to do right now is I want to capture what it was like for me to work by choice, long hours at a place where you can. Because one of the coolest things about working at Texas Card House Dallas is you can pick up shifts.
Yes.
Right? And
very easily.
I've heard some people, this is a common theme in the industry, that dealers have to get sent home after their 40 hours. And a lot of people actually complain in general anytime there's a poker room where the dealer base pay is not high. Like in Washington State and I think California, I might be wrong about California, but I know Washington State, they require minimum wage to everybody, which they jack up minimum wage in that state to in the 12 or 13 or maybe even $14 an hour range. Because of that, when someone hits overtime, they're sending them home because they don't want to pay their base pay when they have other dealers available that they could pay their regular amount. But in a room where they don't pay the larger amounts and the tips supplemented, which is very common in the industry, I think it's a huge benefit for them to pay less per hour. And I'm saying this and I actually mean it because I have now had the opportunity to work long hours in a week and they don't kick me out. I can make way more money like that if I'm getting to choose to work more hours in a given week. So I want to capture what it's like working 70 hours in a week, 68 or whatever it is. And I know you've done this. Look, I didn't even realize how powerful it is for you to come and say, you used to own franchises and you're choosing to work at Texas Card House Dallas because this is a better life, essentially.
Yes.
Right?
Well, the great thing is I'm really grateful to you because without you, I'll never be in this industry.
Do you mind just telling that story real quick, actually?
I knew how to play. I wanted to know how to deal. But
Right.
when you ask people, no one's going to ever teach you. And whenever I looked in Dallas for a school, there's no schools available. So I'd have to drive down to Houston or some other state to actually go through a poker course. So I decided, hey, let's check out YouTube. I saw your videos, I came across those. And I literally for about 2 months, I practiced for 2 hours every night, just over and over on your videos, techniques. And I must have watched your videos, every video you have, probably at least 20 times over. When I first interviewed at Texas Card House, after practicing for about 2 months, I got turned down.
Oh, they said no to you?
They said no.
I had no idea. Oh my god.
So
Wait, who said no? We can.
Leon.
All right, Leon. But he runs a very good audition.
Really
Yeah.
good audition.
Yeah.
And like any audition, I applied for audition at Texas Card House, went through a website, went through the process, and I wore a dress shirt, tie, slacks, just typical interview with a resume in hand, and I was very, very nervous, excited, because I never dealt before, so I had no previous experience in that. So when I went to audition, I saw everybody else wearing t-shirts, jeans, just people.
When you show up to an audition as a poker dealer, the most perfect thing to do is wear black and white. So you'd be wearing black pants, a white dress shirt. Just for anyone that doesn't know, because there's a lot of people that just like you described, you don't know exactly what to do. And in your case, you sort of went above and beyond and showed up like as your best self, which there's nothing wrong with that. But you probably did feel a little bit out of place as well, right?
Completely out of place.
Yeah.
and then during the audition, we all took turns with auditioning, and I saw so many great dealers. And everybody would say, "Oh, I dealt for 10 years. I dealt for 15 years. I dealt the World Series." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't know anything about dealing. Only thing I know is just the videos I watched and just the techniques I learned. I didn't have any prior experience, so I didn't have any bad habits, as you quote unquote say." So
I say that, yeah.
Yeah, I auditioned, and I was pretty confident about what I was doing. So during my first audition, I failed it miserably. But the good thing was Leon said, "Hey, just keep practicing, and you could try again." So I was like, "Oh, okay."
So he failed you, and did you deserve to be failed in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay, so Leon does a very tough audition. He is the AGM at Texas Card House Dallas, and it's so valuable to have somebody there that does a tough audition because it just makes sure that the quality of dealer is higher, right? And so I'm appreciative that, not that he failed you, but the concept of having it be tough to get that actual job is really valuable. What was it like failing the audition?
Probably one of the best things that happened.
Wow, interesting. Say
And
more.
At that moment, it didn't feel good, of course. Someone telling you, "Hey, 2 months of your work every night, still not good enough," which I totally understand, because compared to other dealers that actually had experience and knew what they're doing a lot better than I did, it made perfect sense. But at that moment, I made a decision. Do I take this as a criticism of like, "Hey, do something else in life," or do I actually, just actually take it as constructive criticism? Whereas you have the foundation already. Keep practicing, get better, and we'll give you another chance. And the best thing anybody can ever do in life is give you a second chance, second opportunity, because most times that never happens.
Right.
So I took it for what it was. I said, "Hey, This is an opportunity for me to improve. I know where I'm weak at. I know what I need to do. He's already told me. He broke it down, said these are your strong points, these are your weak points. If you go improve on this part, we'll give you a second opportunity. You can come back and maybe if you could pass the second time, get a job. So
So I hadn't heard this story before. I heard a piece of it when we weren't on the air, but I hadn't heard the rest of this. I want to give Leon some credit for a second. First of all, a lot of auditioners are hesitant to give any feedback in an audition because that I don't know. There's all these things that people worry about, so they just give a pass or fail, and they don't want to deal with it. I know Leon somewhat well just from like working with him for a while and him being the AGM and the fact that he was willing to do that with you, and I assume he's done that with other people too, because he's definitely sent people to me to help that I've helped individually and got them through the door. I didn't help you because I wasn't even in town at the time. But that's really cool of him to give you that feedback. It's really cool of him to give a second chance. And I also do assume, though, that you probably impressed him a little bit with your personality and the way that you think about things, which is a compliment to you, especially now that I, worked with you for it's almost been a year and a half now, which is cool. But that's awesome. So then how long went by and what did you do in between?
So that day I just went home, just kind of bummed out. And for me, I don't watch TV. So one of the things I did was just I remember just sitting on my lawn at the house and just relaxing, trying to get my mind refocused and decide what I'm gonna do. And I made it a point to myself, look, you have a second chance. Take this opportunity, improve. So I started practicing, kept doing it. And the crazy part was this. The day my second audition happened, that day I went to a poker game in Fort Worth. A friend invited me to go up there. I was up there. That game didn't make. So I was literally in Fort Worth, and they're like, hey, let's go down to TCH and play. Drove all the way down to TCH to meet him. Then I saw Leon studying about audition, and I was like, okay, I practiced the points I needed to. Maybe I could, and I didn't reapply yet, so maybe I could still ask him. He goes, yeah, there's still a slot available if you want to. So I re-auditioned that day. Instead of playing poker, I re-auditioned, which happened to be a coincidence just at that time. I re-auditioned, and I passed. And that was a turning point in my life.
Wow.
Just literally, there's points in your life when you look back and say, hey, this was a life changer. This was a life changer. Because this gave me an opportunity to actually do something I really, really loved. I didn't realize how much I loved being a dealer until I started working at TCH. Everybody at TCH, the good thing is that they're a family. There's at every point, if you're weak in certain points, they'll teach you how to become better. That's a great thing. Everybody's there to help you. No one's there to tear you down. And if you have a question, just ask. And if they don't know the answer, there's everybody there with 20, 30-year experience, 10 years experience. They've done all that they've dealt everywhere else, so they can all help you. That's how I learned.
How long went by between the day that you failed the audition and the day that you happened to go to play and got a spontaneous in the moment audition and passed it?
To be honest, I remember.
Was it like a week, 2 week, 3 weeks?
Yeah, about
like
2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks went by. I want to say about 2 weeks realistically.
What did he tell you needed to go work on?
Whenever you're playing poker, when you say pot, you just think, well, okay, you just know what the value of the pot is. The dealer will tell you this pot is X amount of dollars. Just put the money in. You don't think about anything else.
I gotcha.
I was like, my math was totally off.
Getting that stuff right. Okay.
I mean, playing a Congress. I'm a Congress player, 5-card high low.
Yeah, big O.
And I never considered the fact that, hey, whenever you say pot, you just assume the dealer knows the numbers and you would just pay whatever it is and you move on. I never had to do calculations myself. So just that itself is hard.
So when in your first audition, when he said pot, you were just like, and you just did your best?
I did my best. I thought
the numbers weren't right. I got you.
Exactly. My numbers were incorrect, number one. And so I made a lot of mistakes. Number two, when you have 9 people all staring at you and you're nervous, just the fact that you're nervous makes your hand clammy.
Right.
And then the way you pitch the cards out is different. It's just the whole experience is different. Just because of the fact that I never had that, I'd get previous experience where people, you're literally in charge of 9 people, making sure the game flows, but you're at the same time try to be invisible so that they're focused on the game and they're enjoying themselves. So,
man, Auditions are tough.
Yes.
It's like, so you're sitting here right now saying the day that you passed your audition is the day that your life changed.
Yes.
And somebody at home is like, "Oh my God, I have to audition in
Yes.
order to get a job, in order to potentially change my life." Man, but that is how it works. But the good news is, just like you said, whenever you don't pass an audition, it just means that you can pass a later audition,
That's correct.
right? You just put the work in, and that is one of the things that I offer people. I do apologize to anybody that's reached out to me lately. I haven't had as much time available, but I do offer one-on-one sessions where I clean you up, is the simplest way to say it. Um, Man, that's a pretty cool starting story. So that's all before day one. Touching on the thing that you said about the people at TCH caring, it's so hard to capture the truth of this. The thing that you're saying is so dead on, and at the same time, it's hard to believe a couple random people talking, uh, on YouTube about something like people caring. There are very few poker rooms that that feeling is really strong in my experience. And I haven't been to all the poker rooms, so maybe there's a bunch of them out there that I don't know about that do it well. But the truth of what you just said really hit me. Look, I happen from before Texas Card House Dallas exists, I happen to be very friendly with Victor. So there's a whole separate reason for me to be comfortable there. But the fact that Texas Card House Dallas is able to create that feeling for you so quickly is, I don't even know if you appreciate it to the full extent that you should, because of how it is at other poker rooms around the country, where when I came up in the industry, the supervisors used to think it was fun to, when a dealer in table games was talking to someone else next to them in another table game when there was a dead table, they would come around the side of them, take a stack of black, put it on the table, wait for them to notice it, and then sort of chew them out for it.
Wow.
Like, it's just, there's that, like, take your face and rub your nose, and I don't know how dogs work exactly, but that whole thing where you, like, make the dog put its face in the pee mentality sometimes in casinos in general. And it's the, if you don't take care of it yourself, I'm not going to help you mentality. And it's the cover your ass mentality, which I have been told by my superiors over the years in casino: cover your ass, cover your ass, cover your ass, instead of help people, help people, help people. And I'm not saying that I adopted that, but it was everywhere in casino. So for you to even lead in saying that is, like, very powerful to me with the, like, outside experience. And that is exactly the type of thing that I want to be capturing right now. There's a theme in poker rooms that I've experienced where just about every single poker room that I've ever been in, there's always some supervisors that don't know how to create that vibe for people. And it's almost like every time they're on shift, it ruins it for everybody. Everybody. And in Texas Card House Dallas, there's not a single person like that. And it's mind blowing to me. What's it like flooring with this particular group?
Absolutely amazing. And the reason I say that is because you have to understand, I had no skill set as a dealer, number one. I learned my way up. And from there, like, just to give you an example, the very first table I dealt, I remember they gave me a tray and said, go to this table number. I'm thinking, table number? Okay. I literally had to ask another dealer, oh, that's the table. Very nice. Went to the table. And then as I was dealing, people started tipping me. I'm like, what do I do with this? Put it in my pocket. You have to understand, I have no experience. So everybody was asking, Jay, what's your tip box? I'm like, a what box? Yeah, the box you're supposed to be carrying.
Right.
I didn't know what that was. You have to understand, I'm completely green. I mean, if you could take someone like me with no experience in dealing, who watches YouTube videos and learn, but the thing is, it took dedication to learn. It's something I wanted to do. But part of me, I was very scared. I just didn't know if this was something I would want to do as a career, or if it's a part-time hobby or whatever it was. But once I started, I really, really loved the field. just the fact you get to meet new people all the time. There's so many different people you meet at a poker table. You could be literally, one person could be a doctor, another person could be a lawyer, another
Oh,
person
it's
could
insane. Yeah.
be, construction worker.
Somebody owns a jewelry business. Somebody made a fortune in crypto. Somebody, there was someone that used to work at, I think it's American Airlines or something like that, and they were given a bunch of stock, and it went from 35,000 up to 5 million or whatever number it is. Like all these crazy things you find out.
I know. And the thing is, for me, when I was first interviewing to be the position of being a dual rate, when that first came out, I was like, "What's a dual rate?"
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what that was. So, but like the great thing with the TCH family is that they actually said, "Look, we're looking for certain personalities. We're looking for people who want to learn, want to grow with us." And the audition and the dual rate position was open to everybody. And so you have to understand, I went from a guy with no experience as a dealer, working myself up to a dual rate. And when I became a dual rate, it's not like they said, here, here's a book, read it, and that was it. It's not that. You literally it's like that phrase, it takes a village to teach a kid. There's all different kinds of personalities at TCH. We've got the strict floors. We've got the floors that are more relaxed. We've got the floors that are in between. Just every floor has their own attributes, their way of teaching you. And the one thing I went in with was this. I know I'm a very prideful person, especially if I was like, well, I know what I came from. I know my experiences. I know how to manage people. But at the same time, this industry is different. It's a different industry. If you go with the mentality that you're better than someone, or hey, I have the skill set already and now I'm going to learn, you're never going to get anywhere. So when I applied for dual rate, one of the things I wanted to tell them was my strong points. I'm a workaholic. It's also my weak point too, because for me, when I wake up in the morning, if I don't have something to do, say I'm focused, I have a shift at 1 o'clock, or I'm working at 10:30, I'll look forward to that. If I don't have something to look forward to, I usually just lay in bed, which is horrible because there's no motivation for me at that point. Because since I'm not a binge watcher on TV. I don't enjoy just sitting at the house doing nothing. That's not me. I do like playing video games every once in a while, but I like to work because I feel like I'm doing something every day, productive. Also want to do something that I actually enjoy doing. So when I first started training as a dual rate, everybody gave me their little piece of knowledge, and everybody taught me a different method of doing, how to become a.
You're talking about the floors there,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Leon taught me.
So you were sort of able to bounce around and mold your own personality to what you wanted to be as a floor, because you had all of these different types of people coming and giving you their insights, and you're like, this is what I want to take, this is what I want to take, I'm learning.
Yes.
That's interesting.
You got people who's actually been in the industry for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
If you look at the resumes, it's just absolutely amazing. It's like, you actually want to take your time to teach me, and I'm a brand new dealer. When people say I've been doing it for 20 years, I'm like, maybe a year.
Do you feel like you're a good dealer now? And that's just an honest question, and I have a reason I'm asking it.
Personally, I feel like I'm above average.
Excellent. And how long do you feel like it took for you to get to like average at least?
Average, it took me about a good year.
A year.
Where I could say, I'm just as good as the next person.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's pretty common. The reason that I'm asking you that question is just to illustrate the point. Like when you learned the Truepokerdealer content,
yes,
the thing that you're learning is just enough in order to be able to pass the audition. But after you pass the audition, there's this experiential process where you have to actually do the job, ask your questions, put it all into perspective, understand the flow of it, get used to the flow of it, be able to be there, and then train all your habits. And that takes some time in order to get good and familiar with all of these nuances that come up as a dealer. And for you, it was a year. I usually tell people it's like 6 to 12 months to be good. I think your standard of good is a little bit higher, being a perfectionist in a way that you are. But I would assume that you were probably where I'm talking about after about 6 months. But you didn't feel complete until a year, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And that's a pretty powerful truth for how this stuff works in the industry. It's across the board. It takes a lot of time in order to become good at a dealer. And how long was it from the time you started dealing until the time that you got promoted to become a floor?
I'll probably say about pretty much at a little less than 1 year.
So right around that point where you feel like I'm there as a dealer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for me, I was very hesitant to become a floor. To be honest with you,
Really?
when Victor and Leon asked me, I was pretty much, you know what, maybe not, because the fact that I enjoy being a dealer so much.
You love it, huh?
It's great. It's
So
amazing.
I'm gonna pause this and capture this for a moment, just for anyone that's paying attention here. This is common in the industry for the managers to identify dealers that they think would make good supervisors and reach out to them and say, "We would like for you to become a supervisor. What do you think?" I've done that before. They selected you because of a lot of your professionalism and the way that you are. So hopefully you received that as a compliment, which I'm sure you did back then too. And you were hesitant because you're just like, oh man, I just learned how to do this thing that I like now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what made you say yes?
Well, Leon. I mean, two things I look forward to every day. I look forward to seeing Leon. I'm grateful because the man said no to me first in the first audition, but gave me a second chance.
Hmm.
That's real powerful.
2 weeks later, man, that's amazing.
Just the fact someone gives me a second chance in life. I mean, you gotta be grateful for the rest of your life for that because
Yeah.
it's something that I'm doing on a daily basis. My new career, something I love. Second thing, I love seeing you. The first time I ever saw you, I was like, "Are you kidding me?
I appreciate
I just
that.
learned from you. You are the person I learned from. You gave me a new skill set. You changed my life in a positive way."
The very first time that I met you when I came into the room in March of 2021, like I was a little bit blown away that about half the room had learned from me, partially or fully, and you were one of the first ones to introduce yourself, tell me that you had learned from YouTube and my channel, and that was pretty cool. And so you're also saying it's a cool place to be because there's good people there, and yeah.
It's like literally when you have TCH, it's like walking. It's like coming home.
Right.
It's like coming home to your second family, where I mean people are there to help you at all times, and people are smiling. You know, when you go to work, you're smiling. I mean, how much?
Let's actually say that again. So I have a broad audience, but some of the audience right now is people that actually work at Texas Card House Dallas. Okay, the people that work there are there to help you. You can literally go to Jay if you work at Texas Card House Dallas. You can go to Jay and get feedback or whatever it is that he has the availability for. And I'm saying that to you guys that work there because there is this mentality not to, it doesn't even occur to people sometimes to ask for help. It doesn't occur to people sometimes to think of it as family. And that is really what it feels like in a lot of ways. And I just, anybody that like feels stressed at that job, which I don't see that many people like that, but you never know what somebody's going through, right? If there's something about the job that doesn't feel good, the thing that we're taught in the industry as dealers is to go vent in the break room. But the thing we're not taught is to do what you're talking about, which is just go and be practical and matter of fact about the truth that this is something I don't know how to do. I don't know what to do in this circumstance. What do I do? Right? And I just wanted to emphasize that for a second because you're totally right. Texas Card House Dallas is a place where you can do that and you don't run into the typical booby traps that you might run into in the rest of the casino industry where sometimes asking the question is the problem because then you end up with a manager that now you have to, it's like sometimes when you ask a question, you get an answer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you get an answer to something, you're like, oh man, now I have to not do this thing that I enjoy doing because someone told me to do this other version of it or something like that. Like, well, now I was asking about can a player have a sleeper straddle under the gun when the under the gun player is up from the table? And I used to do it this way, and now I have to do it this way type of thing. But at Texas Card House, you can ask a question, whatever the question is for a situation that comes up and actually get help. And they'll still be a little bit understanding if you want to have your own little personality at the table as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, everybody. The thing is, I will say, if you're going to work, you should be able to smile at least once a day. Because otherwise, why are you doing it? I mean, I've worked in so many different industries. I've sold clothes. I've sold shoes. I run a multi-million-dollar company. At the end of the day, that was just pure work. Here I wake up every morning enjoying what I do. I look forward to it every day. I mean, where else can you work as many hours as you want with the flexibility that they give you to switch shifts with the other dealers? And hey, I'm kind of tired. A lot of times a dealer will say, I'm kind of tired. Can you finish out my shift? Sure,
Right. That's one of the coolest things here is that I don't know how they found it exactly, but the software Deputy, and I actually reached out to Deputy because I told them I would do a full review of your product. It's just an app for the casino industry because this is something that more poker rooms should use, in my opinion, and there might be other versions of it out there that are good. But the fact that you can easily pick up a shift, or as you said, if someone doesn't want to be there anymore, there's probably somebody that works there that was willing to come and finish their shift. Like, that's a really cool thing that you can do with this software and with the way that it's set up at Texas Card House. Help people out in that way. I mean, absolutely. Being able to work as many hours as you want, I mean, to a degree, of course. Like, there's ways to work as many hours as you want there, which we sort of talked about before. And I would actually, I think this is the right time to get into this piece of the conversation. It feels really good to go into a poker room, and I only deal there. It feels really good for me to be able to go into a poker room and know if I want to keep working, I can. Up to, I think the maximum is something, it's not forever, right? You can't work 24 hours in a row. But whatever the maximum is, like, it feels really good. If I want to pick up a shift, I can pick up that shift. If I get forced out of that shift, I can pick up another shift or finish someone else's shift
100%.
who wants to go home later. And there's just so much flexibility and power in that. It's pretty remarkable. And that's something that, by the way, I do want to apologize to everybody that works at Texas Card House right now. Jay's busy right now. He's not available to pick up a shift during this conversation. I've got him locked up. He's got his phone on silent. So if you're trying to get him to pick up your shift right now, I'm sorry. He can't do it. But let me see. I think the most I've ever worked voluntarily at Texas Card House in 1 week was like 72-ish hours, which I'm sure you've got beat. And why did I do it? So I challenged myself last year. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I did put some content on it. I wanted to work 55 hours a week for 6 months, and I failed after 6 weeks. I couldn't do it anymore. I had too much other stuff that I was letting get in the way for myself, watching shows. You say you don't watch TV, right? Whatever it is, I wasn't set up for it. And this time around, this past July, I was totally able to work an average of like 68 hours a week for about a month. The only reason I stopped is I had a family trip that came up, 2 of them in August. So otherwise I would have probably kept going. But man, it's so nice being able to do that in a poker room where they're totally cool about it. And I haven't experienced any jealousy. People want me to work their shift, and those are the shifts that I'm working, right? It's not like I'm sneaking in and grabbing something that somebody else desperately wants. It's almost the opposite. The way that I do it, I'm trying to work days that make sense for me and try to keep myself on a routine. I have to be a little bit flexible, but dealing for 68 hours a week, I never in my life would have thought that it was possible. I will give the players in Dallas a lot of credit. You guys are awesome, and women are awesome. You're much more pleasant than typical players in the casino industry, in my experience, and that makes it a lot easier, right? But even my body's able to take it. Like, the equipment in Texas Card House is fine. There's something that I notice in you when you deal that's something I've actually tried to emulate and model a little bit in myself while I'm there. That makes it easier for me to go long hours. But before I share my experience, I want to hear you. When you deal something like 10 hours a day for 7 days in a week, okay, the times that you've done it, how do you do it?
I use your techniques because one of the things for me personally, one of the things I try to avoid are the pitfalls of what other dealers who actually get worn out really quick, which is they try to spin the cards a lot.
Okay, so thing number one, you have a tight pitch,
yes,
is what you're saying, right? Yeah, and I had a player compliment me recently and say that my pitch seemed like it had very little motion. and it does have very little motion, and so you were able to master that piece, is what it said. What it sounds like, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that I learned from your video. What
Appreciate that.
you're talking about, if you try to use your wrist too much, your wrist you're gonna be sore by the end of the
So
day.
important. Yeah, I mean, Jazz
So
has that ganglion cyst on her wrist because when she started, she was like this, and she's had to like learn since then.
Yeah, so I noticed from your video one thing you focused on a lot was technique, technique, technique. If you get the techniques down from the very get-go, you'll make your career and your life so much easier as a dealer. So another part is whenever I'm dealing, my job is really easy because of the fact that the floors handle any issues. And like you're saying, the players in Dallas, I just thought this was a given where if you work in a professional room, first of all, the players are very friendly. There's really no issues ever. And if there's any complications, the floor is always there to help you and assist you. They're always there to make sure the processes are done correctly. Any issues, they resolve immediately. And everybody's happy. We move on. I mean, I really thought that was the industry norm, and talked to other dealers from other states, other casinos, and they're like, I was like, this isn't normal? They're like, no, this is absolutely not normal.
The players in Dallas, look, the staff has something to do with this, don't get me wrong. But the people in Dallas, forget about the poker players, just the people in Dallas are happier in general, in my experience, than they are in other places. And they're less demanding, and there's less expectation. They're more patient, and they're super happy to be there. I mean, when we ran into trouble with our license that got pulled, how many players showed up at the town hall meeting, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was hundreds. And I think that's a major part of what made Victor so good in this situation, for getting that connection with them so that they go, and also them being there because they wanted to be, and actually helping win the appeal that nobody thought we were going to win, right? That was amazing. But the players in Dallas definitely help. Okay, so you've got the technique and making it so that your body is able to endure, and we've got the players being more pleasant, which maybe you'd be able to work long hours without that too, right? One of the differences, and just to be clear about it, is as a dealer we're told we have to have thick skin, we have to have thick skin, we have to have thick skin. In Dallas, it just doesn't. It like, you still need it. You're still a poker dealer, but it's not the same. You don't have players at every single table blaming you for the cards. You don't have players at every single table cursing somebody out, or just this negative, like, if a dealer makes a mistake, which dealers do make mistakes, they're more patient with it. They will still give constructive feedback to somebody that makes a mistake, right? So you can't keep making mistakes, but they understand that the person's a human, and I mean, because of the staff that we have, everyone wants to be better, so they'll have an actual conversation with them. It's just it is a different thing. All right, so there's those things. What else makes it so that you can work long hours? Like, how does somebody show up to work for 70 hours a week, period?
Well, let's say there's really no mental stress at TCH, like you're saying, and something I agree with you 100% on. When dealing, it's not like you're dealing all day either. I mean, you deal, say, 3 balls, which is, every ball is a 30-minute for those of you guys that don't.
3 table strings is the way it's said most of the time. 3 ball is the slang, fun way
I didn't know
us
that.
dealers say it. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with saying it. But yeah, so it's 30 minutes at a table, and then you get tapped out, and you go to the next table where you do get that 60 to 90 seconds of recovery, right? And then 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes. So you're doing 3 tables in a row, and then a break for 30 minutes, right? Or 4 tables and then a break and a cage. By the way, what's the most tables you've ever done in a row?
In a row, I got rerouted. I did, I think, well, the longest I've done was either 9 or 10 tables in a row, because I got rerouted twice. But that was the day that we were so busy.
Right.
For me, they gave me an option. Hey, you want a break? I said no. I want to keep dealing.
Right.
Because I love dealing. It was just, it's not difficult. It's when the players appreciate you, and you're happy to be there, and also you get free sodas too at TCH. It's unlimited free sodas. So, I mean, the players appreciate you. You're having fun. You're making money. I mean, what else could you ask for? I mean,
everybody in this world is looking for something that people are willing to give them money for, right? As a poker dealer, as a person that works at a job, as a poker dealer, players are willing to give you money, right? It's a simple formula sometimes, right? And we appreciate it as much as they appreciate us, and it's a really cool feeling as a supervisor. I mean, the poker room is willing to give you money, and the tip out is willing to give you money and all that stuff, which is cool. Which I am a huge fan of a tip out. We're not going to talk much about it right now, but part of the reason that supervisors in some poker rooms are good is because of the existence of it, and so I'm all day yes to that. But the one thing that I want to try to capture from you that's interesting to me is being able to work 70 hours means driving in every day, not being at home, having to do a job. But I think the thing that you're saying is you feel relaxed there all the time. And because you feel relaxed there all the time, or at least as the dealer part, we haven't talked about flooring much, but because you feel relaxed there all the time, you can do more and you're happy and you feel like you're around family. That's really cool. What about like your back and shoulders or anything like that? You're good?
Nope, no issues.
Do you have like a special pad that you sit on or anything like that?
No.
No, you just use the chair as is? I
mean,
like it.
Worst case, never think about it this way. I have a lot of health issues personally
Oh, you do?
before all this.
Interesting.
Just because of the fact that back then I was working literally, like I said, 7 days a week, 12 hours to 16 hours every day running my own company. The stress level on that is I can't even compare what it is to what I'm doing right now. It's like night and day. The stress level is absolutely horrible. You wake up feeling exhausted mentally, physically, and dreading the fact that you're going to work.
This was at Sprint when you owned
Yes.
multiple franchises. This is how
Because-
you used to feel.
Yeah, when you're the owner of the company, you're responsible for everybody,
Right.
every one of your employees. You got to make sure your business runs good. You got to make sure your promotions go through. You got to make sure the company's making money. You got to make sure inventory is good. You're in charge of every little aspect of it. And if anything falls out of place, your employees suffer. So that's why there's never a break from stress. Versus when you're
Dealing
different.
can be completely stress free. Once you get to the point where you know what you're doing, I mean, every once in a while something comes up that you have to make a decision, right? And the floor is supposed to make decisions, but sometimes as a dealer, your decision is, does this make sense to call the floor, right? Like there are a lot of like, well, what just happened? I missed this thing. How does it make sense in the flow of it? But ultimately, it's pretty stress free when you know what you're doing. I mean, I know for me, going to Texas Card House and dealing, the toughest thing about it for me is just the motion of it. And I am trained, as you know, in order to minimize the long-term effects of those things. That's the most stressful part for me. It's not the dealing poker. I'm trying to think of how to describe my experience dealing 70 hours a week and feeling good about it. The number one thing for me is I had to make sure that I sleep every day. How much do you sleep a day? Wait, do we need to do the Terminator 2 thing and cut into you to see if you're a robot right now?
Well, that's the thing. Because of my previous work, I don't have to sleep very much. I just got used to the point where 2 hours is usually good enough for me.
Man, that's crazy.
I
Do you ever catch up? Like,
yes, I mean, there's days when I'm like, okay, I got 2 days off. I think I'll take this one entire day and just veg.
yeah.
And those days, that might happen once a month just to fully recharge. But outside of that, 2 hours.
How old are you? I actually don't know.
I'm in my late 40s.
Really? Oh my God, you look good for that. That's amazing. That's impressive. I never would have thought you were in your late 40s.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you're experienced in this world, and so that part totally makes sense with what you were talking about, like 10 years running franchises, all the stuff you did before that with family businesses. But that's cool. Sorry if that was a personal question that I just asked.
You're fine.
Um,
But I always feel like I'm 21. That's the thing. When I work in this industry, when I literally wake up, like physically inside, mentally, I feel like I'm 21.
yeah.
So that's why it was. Whenever people ask me for my age, I was like, I'm 21. Because mentally, that's how I feel every single day at work.
So I want to sort of talk about one of the things that I notice you do that I love, and I want to encourage other people to start approaching their job like this if they're a dealer or thinking about it like this. I'll start with how I do it and the adjustment that I've made. So for me, when I'm dealing poker historically, and not as much anymore, but still some, I'm sitting there and trying to think preventatively about absolutely every scenario that could possibly go wrong and paying attention to absolutely as much as I can, including like the tone of people and all this other stuff that everybody's doing all the time at the poker table in order to make sure that everything is perfect all the time. And for me doing that, I noticed that it drained me actually. The thing that I've observed you do, and I don't know for sure that I'm right for the record, but the thing I think I've observed you do is something that Victor teaches that I started teaching recently too, which is just teach yourself the process of dealing and go one step at a time. This is the thing that's happening, this is the thing that's happening, and keep everything else sort of clear in your mind where you can react to stuff because you've trained yourself to react to stuff, but you don't need to be as worried about anything else other than exactly what the next step. The beautiful thing about poker is it's one person acting at a time.
That's correct.
All right. For me, because I used to deal and think about it in terms of if I've got this person acting, I need to know if this person or this person act out of turn, and you do need to know that, but to trust that you're going to notice it when it happens, as opposed to watching for it, right? Those types of adjustments are things that I've made in order to relax myself more at the table. And you are the person that stood out to me as, because I started watching you more when I realized that you were able to work long hours and be comfortable, right? And seem refreshed, and especially saying you're in your late 40s, like, being able to do that comes from being relaxed and taking one thing at a time. So I want to give you that huge compliment. And I want to tell anybody that's thinking about being a poker dealer or currently a poker dealer and tired at the table, if you teach yourself the process of exactly what it is that's happening right now and teach yourself the process of what to do when something else happens as a reaction instead of making sure that it doesn't happen. See, for me, I would be making sure that people didn't do things that they weren't supposed to do instead of sort of thinking more of it in terms of letting them make a mistake if they make a mistake and then reacting to it after the fact. Does that subtle difference sort of make sense?
Yes.
The way that I'm saying it? Does that resonate that that's what you do? You're there focusing on just the one thing at a time that's happening, and when something goes wrong, you're taught yourself already what to do after that, right?
Yeah.
It helps keep you relaxed at the table. It's a really good mentality to bring into poker. I think part of why I haven't done that historically is because when you work in a place where the players aren't chill, like in Dallas, a lot more can go wrong, right? So if I'm dealing with 3 players that I know for sure are looking for something to cause a problem and get on my case, somebody else's case, or any of that stuff, it actually might make sense for me to go into that mode of paying attention to everything all the time and knowing what to stop before it starts. But at TCH Dallas, you sort of don't have to. And yeah, I sort of wanted to say that. There are a lot of people that they cannot work a 10-hour day. They just can't do it. And there's a lot of people that can't work a 12-hour day. I chose to work 13 hours the other day. It was a choice. It was because I asked myself after 8 hours, can I keep going? And the answer was yes. Do I want to keep going? The answer was yes. Am I there for the family feel? Well, no. I'm there to challenge myself to make more money, right? And I like being able to do that. And obviously, you're talking about you're there all the time for the family side. You don't mind extra money either, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for anybody for what to do with your excess money in life that you work in dealing poker? And before you answer that, I had someone ask me, do you know any poker dealers that ever make any real money in their life? And I actually had to think about it. They told me that their grandfather was an engineer. They worked 30 years as an engineer, and they've been able to accumulate like $1 million and $2 million after retirement. And I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, well, I've only been in the industry for 15 years or so, and the people that I've met are still working in it, still accumulating money in their life, still getting to that retirement phase. And I was like, I bet 20 years from now, a lot of the people that I've worked with that are poker dealers are going to have a lot of assets built up in their life. The reason I'm saying this to you is because you've talked to me about this
Yes,
before.
I have.
Yeah, what advice do you have? And this isn't financial advice. I know I have to say stuff like that because I'm on YouTube, right? I couldn't even give financial advice if I wanted to, but like what do you have to say for what you can do if you can choose to relax yourself, work extra hours? Like what do you do with your extra money?
Well, one of the things I always recommend to people, I like a simple life, which means that less stress is always better, right? And the best thing I've learned from my life is just pay off the bills that you have. Like if you have a car payment, you have a car bill, you have 3 years left on it, use the extra money you make, just work an extra shift. Use that money to pay off your car. Because not having a car payment every month is absolutely amazing. It's not like I can't go out today, buy another car if I wanted to. I choose not to because of the fact I have no car payments. I pay my insurance 6 months ahead.
Oh, you even pay the insurance in advance too.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, think about it. Every month that comes through, what do you have? Just electricity bill. Pretty much basically what it is. If you could simplify your life, it's easier. You know, those little things add up because I guarantee you, a lot of people always worried about, oh, I gotta pay this, pay that, pay this. But realistically, if you get those out of the way sooner the better, your life is much easier. I work because I enjoy it, not because I have to use extra money to pay, say, a car note, to pay for insurance or anything like that. All those are already said and done for me. I just make extra pay. I work extra shifts because I enjoy it. It's easy work. People are friendly. The work environment's great. You know, I get free sodas all the time. That's what I was talking about. I love it.
What type of soda do you drink there?
Coke and Dr. Pepper all the time.
Coke and Dr. Pepper all day, huh?
Hell yeah, it's great. You know, I mean, realistically, I work in the air conditioned building. I've managed whenever I'm dealing. The floors are amazing. They go there, resolve any issues, and usually there's really no issues at TCH because everybody knows what the expectation is. The players know that hey, they're in a friendly environment. You're there to enjoy yourself. If there's ever a mistake, the floors will handle it. I mean, what else could you ask for? I mean, work standpoint, easy job.
It's true, yeah.
From a player standpoint, I play at TCH sometimes. I don't play very often just because I work there. It makes it sometimes uncomfortable. Just because I know the players.
No, I know that feeling too. Like, we have the ability, which I love, the ability to play at the room that we work in, which some people think is a bad thing. But I will tell you this, that has helped make our dealers so much better. Because when you have people, there are a lot of poker players that we ended up helping, or they might have learned to be dealers on their own or whatever it is. There are a lot of poker players that converted into poker dealers.
Yes.
And what that does is it ensures that the dealers care so much about the games being run well because they're players too. Mm-hmm. And so it affects them and they learn from each other. And I mean, as a dealer, dealing to players is definitely more enjoyable. But dealing to other dealers is more enjoyable at times, right? Because
yes.
It's just like it's family at the table, and also, I mean, they're generous tippers. It is what it is. Dealers are nice tippers because we get it, right? We get what 100%. It's like to receive, and we get that feeling of this is what it's like to receive that. That part's really cool too, and at the same time, like you said, it is a little bit weird, especially as a dual rate, to floor and to deal, and then be taking a player's money or losing to them. It's weird, like losing to someone that plays there that you deal to and floor with feels fine, but that's not why you're playing poker. Right?
Well, the way I play is
you're trying to like kill someone's stack, right?
Yeah, I'm really aggressive. And that's the thing. Yeah. I'm aggressive, but I'm aggressive loose. Like most of the time, 9 out of 10, you'll always get my money.
You like play craps at the poker table, right? The times you win, you're winning huge, right?
I usually just lose again.
Okay, well there's that. But that's just because you're a nice guy, right? You're obviously folding aces pre-flop and hold them just so that someone else can win your money. I understand that. We know that that's happening. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Desiree says listening and driving. We've got a couple comments in here. I wish I could sort of focus more on the comments, but I sort of want to stay locked in here. We've talked a little bit about being able to deal long hours, and I mean, I feel like I can picture it now. It's like it's a comfortable place to be. The staff, you don't. There are a lot of poker rooms too. As a dealer, calling floor, the floor comes over, and then you have to deal with all this stuff later because you made a mistake. And I've even supervised in rooms where we've done that to people and made it so that the dealers knew that they had to call us, but they didn't want to have to call us because then they might get a write up or something like that. And it's not like there's no write ups at Texas Card House Dallas, but it's the right environment where you call the floor for support.
Yes.
Right.
Support.
Yes.
Roles there to back you up.
And having that is a really nice. It's a nice place to be. By the way, what's it like? Do you remember your first floor call?
Nervous, going, oh God, here we go. I'm in trouble. But it wasn't. But the great thing was that when I called the floor, mentally, first time I was thinking, I'm in a lot of trouble. I don't know what I just. It's like you're nervous. You're very nervous. When they came over, they said, "Hey, Jay, what's going on?" Explain the situation. They're like, "Okay, this is what we do," and that was it. And you actually learn from the fact that they're not yelling at you. They're there to help you. They're the safety net. So I went from being nervous and scared, first time being a dealer, kind of call it forward to, "Hey, these guys are there to help me. They're part of they're part of the team."
It's a beautiful thing. It's how it should be. I want to give Victor some credit.
A lot of credit. Yeah.
We've got Mike Williams now. I don't know if he's got the exact position or he's transitioning into it, but either way, he's there. He's now the GM of Texas Card House, and that's something he inherited from Victor. All right. I want to give Victor a lot of credit because something that I love about him is he built this room sort of the way that his mind works is he understands common best practice in the industry very well, but he never cares unless it actually makes sense, right? So every single little, and I don't even know if you realize this, every single little detail at Texas Card House Dallas has been a group effort with him and his team, and sometimes it's been his final decision, but it was group efforts of thinking what actually makes sense. We've got this opportunity, we've got this card room, it's in Texas. There's not weird rules in Texas like you get in some states where it's actually government-based rules where your hands are tied for stuff you want to do. This is Texas. We can do things we want to do with some hands tied, but not the types of things that really affect the experience. What is it we want to do for the way that we set the room up? And this is one of those things. When a floor comes over, how do we want to coach them? Not what's done in the industry with write-ups and all that stuff, which I'm guilty of setting things up that maybe didn't make sense in the past. What is it that actually makes sense? And this is the thing that makes sense. When a floor comes over, give support to the dealer. If they need coaching, give them coaching. If the dealer wants more feedback, give them more feedback. Find the time to do it. I've never been to a poker room where as many people come on their days off to hang out as Texas Card House Dallas. There are floor and Nick, the supervisor's there all the time on his days off. It's mind-blowing how many people come and spend their own personal time in the room all the time. And that's one of the coolest indicators and one of the things that I hope that we can preserve for years and years and years there. Because it just says so much that people are choosing to spend their time off in the room, right? And to Victor's credit, so many little details. Being able to finish someone else's shift is something that I've never seen done before in the industry. I assume that he evaluated it and said, sure. They have this start time. That's the start time that they're locked into. If you want someone else to finish your shift, you can politely communicate it in Deputy, the app that we have, where there's a news feed. If someone else sees it there, they can come in and they can actually communicate back with you, I'll be there in an hour. And they just take over your shift. They keep your start time. If there's a force out for that start time, they get forced out. If they say they want to stay and it's not a problem, they stay. Like, they might work 3 hours. Sometimes someone wants to work less than a full shift, right?
Yep.
Finishing somebody, there's a lot of dealers that live sort of nearby, but they actually go to the hotel nearby just because it's convenient and they can like pick up shifts and stuff like that whenever it makes sense. Whenever someone says, there's people that if you want your shift finished, can someone finish my shift? And then Jay will say yes.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, it's one of the most interesting dynamics with about as much flexibility as I've ever seen. How am I able to work a 68-hour work week? I mean, I'm able to do it because there's people that are constantly posting, can somebody do this for me? And it makes it not about points and attendance. It's like people are willing to help. And look, we're fortunate that we have a lot of games. Having a lot of tables at Texas Card House Dallas makes it so that this type of thing is a lot easier because you have a lot of people there. But it's 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 the dream. It really is to have this much flexibility for so many people that work at one place doing the same job. This is an interesting question. I don't know the answer to this. As a floor, do you guys have the ability to finish other people's shifts and all that stuff too?
Yes.
So you can do all that stuff as a supervisor too. There's less people available, of course.
Yes.
Right?
Basically, during our shifts have to be covered 100% of the time.
Of course,
You're
yeah.
100% responsible. Now, if another supervisor, another floor says, "Hey, can you maybe finish my shift for whatever reasons, or can you cover my shift?" We could switch around, or I could finish their shift, which I'm always available for at all times. So
That's that's not. This is not meant to be an advertisement like that. But that's really funny. But by the way, just going back to the dealers saying, "Can someone finish my shift or can someone work for me?" Like the dealers are pretty good about it too. If nobody's available, then they just work it. And that's sort of the
Yeah.
mentality. It's not like they're saying, I haven't seen anybody being like, someone better come in for me or I'm not going to work or anything negative like that. But that's because so many people are there to help and pick up. And, the system makes it so that you can even offer somebody something in order to pick up your shift within reason, too. But that's really cool that you'll finish any floor shift as well. What have you ever done like the overnight? Like what times do you try to do?
Well, I prefer, for me, I like to be, well, I usually work till about 4 a.m. So anything past 4 a.m., I prefer not to, just because there's a small window for me where
When you can sleep.
where I like to recharge.
Yeah.
And during the 2 hours I charge, for me, it's perfect for me. I feel very comfortable.
See, for me to work 70 hours, 68 hours in a week, I need to sleep about 7 hours. I need a little bit of coffee. And I need just when I get home, I need to just sort of chill and have that little bit of downtime. And as long as I don't have, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm single right now for pretty much the first time in my life. Like my last couple of years has been me being single. And when I start dating, I can't work 70 hours. So I've just said, you know what? I'm enjoying what this is at Texas Card House Dallas for me right now. I'm just going to stay single, not even worry about it, not even think about it, and just sort of live my life and pick up shifts when it makes sense for me to do that. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have all this other business stuff that I fit in before and after. I'm working at 4 o'clock today, by the way. So right now it's what, 2:18 Central Time. I'm going to be there at 4 p.m. And I mean, being on YouTube and all of this stuff, it does take energy for me, but like you said, it's not that hard to be there. It's a good place to be. And for me as true poker dealer, I do get a certain amount of love from everybody. There's a lot of people that like I don't know that are very nice to me as well, just because I've helped the industry in the ways that I've helped, which is cool for me too. But man, so you're nowadays, by the way, how many hours would you say that you're flooring, and how many hours would you say that you're dealing? Like, let's say it's a 70-hour work week for you that you chose to do this particular week.
Mm-hmm.
Is it mostly flooring? Is it mostly dealing?
So my schedule right now is blocked off as a floor only.
Oh, really?
So,
is that 5 days a week?
4 days currently.
4 days as a floor, gotcha.
4 days as a floor. The thing is, during the 4 days, I have flexibility. A lot of times people will say, "Hey, I'm off 3 days out of the week." I pick up shifts because I rather deal, have fun, enjoy. Because like when you're watching TV, I'm dealing cards. Same thing. You watch TV, I deal cards.
You're not
we're
wrong
both
though.
happy.
Like literally, if you can entertain yourself being a dealer, which it's not just you that's able to do that. Like, why not do something where you get extra money in your pocket and I mean, we don't talk about it that much, but as long as there's not a whole lot of negatives, being a dealer, you get to watch some interesting hands,
Yes.
right? Like if you're at home and you love watching TCH live, the live streams that we do, which are great, you know, you can be a dealer and watch TCH live on shift, right? I mean, that's true.
Yeah. And you can say, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The great thing is, you know, when you're watching poker on TV, the only difference is that you're watching it on TV. I'm part of it. I'm the one dealing the cards. I'm the one actually seeing all the action that's happening. So for me, it's the same feeling. And you're right. You make extra money on the side. It's a plus. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, I had a sequence yesterday when I was dealing 2-5 no limit where a player who I've enjoyed talking to, and since I started working there and sort of got to know him on the tables is where I talked to him. He went and he won a tournament for like 150,000, and then I'm dealing to him, and you know, I give him aces against someone else's nines against someone else's kings, and he wins like a $8,000 pot, right? And then about 10 minutes later, I give him a royal flush, and he wins like a $1,600 pot. And it's like I'm watching a show. Yep. You know what I mean? It's a pretty cool feeling. Like. Yeah. And so you enjoy that part of it too, because you're there enjoying the poker.
Yes.
Yeah. See, that makes a lot of sense too. It makes it, if this is your television, hell yeah, right?
Works out perfect. This is literally my dream job. I didn't realize it until I started actually working it full time. Until I was actually a year into it, when I actually felt comfortable as a dealer. That's when everything kind of, all the puzzles kind of fit together. Then I realized this is what I've been looking for. The stress level is very minimal. I mean, there's days it's very stressful. Don't misunderstand. But
more as a floor or as a dealer for you?
For the floor.
Gotcha.
So when I'm a dealer, I'm usually smiling, happy as could be. When I'm floor, I take it more seriously because I'm in charge of the entire room.
Right.
I'm in charge.
You're responsible. Yeah.
Every aspect of it. The room is my responsibility. I gotta make sure it runs smooth. I gotta make sure that when the dealer's dealing, they're having a good time. That they're not stressed out. I gotta make sure the rotations are good. I gotta make sure the hostesses are good, the waitresses are good, the cage is good. Every aspect of the business is my responsibility, and I take it to heart. This is my responsibility, my job. I want to make sure that it's taken care of as best as possible so that it'll last for a long time.
Well, and also you sort of mentioned that, you know, it took you 12 months to get to the point where you felt like I'm an above average dealer. As a supervisor, it's generally 3 years in order to get to the point where you're like an above average supervisor. I'm not saying, I don't know what your experience, maybe you feel like you're an above average supervisor right now, but that's what generally happens. There's a lot more to learn.
There's so much to learn. And the thing is, when I first started as a dual rate, I remember one of the floors that I was always nervous around was Nick. Mm-hmm. And the reason I was nervous around him wasn't because he's a strict, teacher, he's a strict floor or anything like that. It's the fact that he taught me so much that I never wanted to disappoint him.
Gotcha.
One of the floors I learned the most from was Nick, just because his teaching style is different from everybody else. But he's always there to help you.
Absolutely.
That's the part that's the part that blew my mind. Is the fact that he's been around so many different places, has so much experience, and he's stricter on certain aspects of the way the room flows. But he knows every aspect of the room. Mm-hmm. And you got a guy like that who will stop everything, take 30 minutes and say, "Let me explain to you why we do this. Let me explain to you how we do this. Let me explain to you how this is part of the business." I mean, think about that. A guy with that much experience, and he's super, super busy. It's not like this guy has nothing to do. Mm-hmm. He's fixing the room. He's always working the floor. He's always busy. But yet, when you ask him a question, at that point, everything stops. He pulls himself to the side and goes, "Yeah, let me explain it to you." I mean, think about that. Most times, you have to pay someone to teach you something new in life. But This guy's literally saying, "I'm going to help you because he cares." That's the difference. He
absolutely
cares.
And actually, I think a decent amount of people are a little bit intimidated of Nick, and it's not like he's got this vibe about him, and this is I'm saying this because I think it's a cool thing. He's got this vibe about him that you have to get things right, but the point that you're making is it's from a supportive place, right?
Yes.
People in the industry don't understand. When they're in a situation where the room is supportive, they don't understand that people aren't going to get them in trouble. They want it to be the way that it should be, right? Nobody's there trying to fire people. I mean, look, if you're doing something that's fireable, like stealing or low integrity stuff, forget it. That's going to get you in trouble. But if you're not doing stuff like that you really shouldn't be doing, then they're there to help. And Nick is a wealth of information, as is Chris and Leon and like everybody there. Yeah.
Everybody there.
And that's really cool. And I love the fact that you said that you were stressed because you didn't want to disappoint him. I've seen you go around the room as a supervisor, and you do seem like you're stressed at times. And is it harder for you to do longer weeks if you were to work 70 hours and 40 of it is flooring? Is that hard for you, or is it still you're with family and all this other stuff?
I could do probably double the number of hours as a dealer than as a floor.
How many hours do you think you could floor in a week? By the way, I want to say, for me, flooring is less stressful than dealing, which is interesting. But I mean, the reason that I can be true poker dealer is because I have floored for so long, because it requires that extra insight in order to be able to teach it and be there with a broad audience and understand all the different ways that it's done in the country, and teach a lot of people. Like, teaching is not something that you learn as a dealer. You don't learn that until you have to teach people as a supervisor, who it's definitely usually left to. But how many hours do you think you could personally floor? And I can give you some tips to maybe make it a little bit easier too.
Well, if they put me on a schedule for 7 days, I could work all 7 days.
But how long are the floor shifts? Is it sometimes 10, sometimes 8?
Well, there's a 9-hour shift and a 10-hour shift.
Gotcha.
There's one or the other. But the thing is, realistically, for a long period of time, I think 5 days is optimal for me. Just so I could get a good 5 days in, and then I could deal to balance it out.
So hypothetically, 5 days a week is something that you could sustain as a supervisor, just because of the stress and the
Yes.
body. By the way, you're on your feet the whole time, right?
100%.
We
don't get a chance
What
to.
do you do for your shoes? Because I know what my answers are. I've easily used like Dr. Scholl's, and I'm very particular about my shoes for flooring.
The best thing I've noticed for myself is probably different for everybody, but have 2 pairs of shoes. So
Yes.
if you change out shoes, it makes a world of difference. Number one.
You're saying every day you switch or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also
Tip
sometimes
runners say that too.
sometimes whenever I know I'm working say extra hours because room's extra busy, I will have extra pair of shoes in my car. So I would go from dress shoes to tennis shoes, just so that if I'm working say extra 4 hours, 3 hours past my regular shift, which rarely happens. On the floor, you usually set for the certain bracket of time, but I go in my car, wear a pair of tennis shoes that matches the suit, and it's a lifesaver.
When I was at the TDA Summit in July, I thought about raising my hand and saying I want clean tennis shoes, sneakers, to become the norm for poker supervisors. I would actually love that, but you hit on something that's pretty cool, right? Is it obvious to you that most poker rooms don't allow sneakers, tennis shoes? Because I love, the first time I saw supervisors in suits wearing sneakers, I was so happy because I know what it's like to be on your feet all day. And so you're saying that you have dress shoes and tennis shoes.
Yes.
And you switch between them. And I mean, that to me, that's genius. That's a very, very good insight. If you run a poker room, please consider allowing tennis shoes, sneakers, to be worn by your supervisors. The downside is 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people might say, you look less professional, until they realize that they're clean looking and it matches the suit and all that stuff. The upside is your supervisors are so much happier, which filters down to everybody. I'm glad I asked you that. I didn't know that was going to be your answer. What else you got? What else makes it so that you can be on your feet all day and work all day and all that stuff?
Let's see. I mean, tennis shoes pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it.
Like for me, my balance is dealing and flooring. So when you're dealing, you're always sitting down most of the times, and shoes aren't that big of an issue.
Right. As a dealer, it doesn't matter as much. Yeah.
For me, I like wearing suits, but I know that in our room we have the flexibility to wear a suit or a dress shirt with tie. I like suits. So
Alfred's on here. He said the machine, talking about you. I like that. Yeah, we don't at TCH Dallas. You have to have either a coat or a tie, or is it just a dress shirt? I forget what the requirement is.
Our option is either a coat or you wear a dress shirt with tie.
With a tie, yeah, that's pretty standard to have one or the other. I actually think Victor was against not requiring the suit with the tie just because it is more professional, and he was. But when everyone said no, we want one or the other, he's like, okay, fine. instead of requiring both. Which I do think, like, if you have comfortable supervisors, as long as they look professional, that's really valuable. Hey girl said, "Hi Mark, glad to see you live," and gave a super chat. I very much appreciate that and appreciate the. I know I haven't been live as much lately. I've been in a lot of transition, and so thank you for that. Appreciate the encouragement. Happy to be live. I miss it. I miss being on YouTube as much as I used to be. I do plan on being here. I've got another couple interviews that are set up actually soon, but thank you for that. Oh, Dustin Love said, this is for both of us. I auditioned at TCH Houston last week after watching your videos. I failed the audition with some of the same struggles as your guest, but Chris Hall gave my name to I Host Poker and I'm signed on with. I'm looking forward to joining the family in the near future. That's pretty cool. So another story about failed and then got another chance, right?
Exactly.
Interesting. And yeah, calculating the pot is tough. I did a live stream a few months ago that's now a part of my paid course where there was somebody in Houston that they did not pass their audition originally at Texas Card House in Houston. And it was because they didn't do the pot stuff well, and I actually auditioned them on here, and it's in my Mixed Games Omaha stud course now, where you can watch my audition with them going over pot limit everything and resolve a lot of that stuff. But I'm actually happy to hear that story, and it's pretty much what you were talking about, right? Like
that's almost identical. But the great part is during the interview process, the first audition, is the fact that I knew exactly what they're looking for, and is I could also where my mistakes were. If someone just told you, okay, thanks for coming out, have a good day.
That's true, yeah.
It's the fact that they took the time and explained, this is where you're weak at. This is our parts that if you could fix, come back.
Right.
I mean, who does that? I mean, whoever tells you that after audition, they actually explain to you why.
It's much less common. I actually used to do that in the industry. I would take some people after the fact that really wanted to know, and I was surprised when I found out it's just not done that much. And yeah, it's really cool that being able to get through. So actually, I can highlight this for a second. Being able to get feedback and then fix that thing that was wrong and then get a job is amazing. Right? You weren't even being BS'd. Like, they literally said, I need you to do this better. Now, I'm sure that to a degree, like, back when you got the job, they needed dealers too, right? Maybe you're a little bit more lenient with who you bring in when you have lots of spots to fill. Advice I always give to everybody who's trying to get their first poker dealing job: if you can find a room that's opening, you're more likely to get hired every single time, But that is definitely a cool story. Rich says, he is always dressed sharply and he reminds me of a hitman in those Asian movies. Okay. I guess that makes sense. You do sort of like walk around with the very stoic, like, I might know how to kill people in this room look. I'm just kidding, of course. But so a couple of supervisor tips for you. Let me see how to describe this properly. There's a process that I go through in my head that I'm curious if you go through. Maybe you do this already, where I am thinking through in advance what could happen. I'm simulating it out in my head, and I'm preparing for what could happen for the next 30 to 60 minutes. And at first it's tiring, and then after getting used to it, it's relaxing, because then nothing goes wrong for the most part. Does that even mean anything to you when I say that? Like, do you know what I'm talking about by like simulating something out in my head? Whether I'm running the rotation, like when I'm running the rotation, I'm usually an hour or 2 hours in advance.
Me too.
All right, excellent. So and that just means you have good training, honestly, too, or maybe it's your personality.
A lot of training came from Victor, because I remember when I was doing my first rotation, nervous as could be. He put me on one of the business days, and I literally brought him a sheet of paper with the rotation for Saturday with the number of dealers I had. Said, this is what I'm planning to do. What do you think?
Right.
I mean, nervous. I mean, you understand, he's putting me in charge of a room on the business day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big responsibility, and that's someone that.
But he was there if you had any questions.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
Victor and Leon, Nick, they're always there 24/7. I've texted them literally at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning on their private cell phones. First thing, within a matter of seconds, response. I mean, where did you get that? I'm serious, seriously. And when I went to Victor's office, I know he was really busy. He took the time. He he literally moved away from his computer and went through the entire rotation with me and said, "This is, looks pretty good. Have you calculated the number of dealers? Have you anticipated the number of tables?" I mean, we went through
Exactly,
A's
yeah.
and B's, the whole 9 yards, and it was pretty amazing. That's why going into that first day when I was in charge of the room, I felt very confident because I knew exactly what was going to happen. I already knew exactly what I was going to do when I first got there. First hour, first 3 hours, first 4 hours, five, and if this happens, this never happens. I mean, I plan out the day every day, and for me right now it's really easy because I know how the room flows on a daily basis. What days are the real busy days? How many dealers I need? What to expect. Maybe extra table here or there, but I've been through it. I've been down the road so many times now. It just everything's already pretty much set and done already for me. The moment I walk in, I also know like whenever I'm a support as a when I, there's pretty much the difference between a lead floor and a dual rate.
Right.
When I say lead floor, we don't have that title anymore. But what I mean by lead floor is the person that's in charge of the room.
At any given moment.
Yes.
Yes.
Versus the dual rate, which for me, a dual rate is someone that shadows the lead floor.
Yeah, when I think about flooring, there's basically three possible positions. There's the person running rotation, sometimes called the DC. There's whoever's running the tournament, and then there's whoever's there for support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I look at it the exact same way. And so, like say, whenever Nick's there ahead of me, he has the earlier schedule. I come in, like tonight, I work at 7 p.m. I'm gonna be shadowing everything that the lead floor is doing already.
Right.
When I say shadow, means that I'm already anticipating what else needs to be done, so that it's done before he even has to ask me. Like
Right.
say, okay, well, probably in an hour we're gonna open the table. Trays ready, tables ready, everything's
Yeah.
already ready and prepped to go. So the moment he says, "Go," it's done. So he doesn't have to stress about it. That's what he could do his job efficiently, and I can do my side of the job efficiently.
Interesting. So you do all that stuff. It sounds like you're on top of it. You were trained really well, which that's hard to find. I am considering, and I think I'm going to do a poker supervising training course that I start building in about a week or two. Pretty excited about that, and I did talk to Victor about this. I'm just teasing you right now, but like there's not really any supervisor training in the industry right now, so it's really refreshing to hear that you get so much attention learning how to do this job from experienced people. It's not available to anybody. What was it like for you though when you like first considered being a dual rate and you first considered, like, where did you go to learn how to do this stuff? Where did you start?
Well, first I asked them what kind of rules we used. WSOP rules, of course. Back then, I was used to TDA rules, small variations and small changes to the
Right.
rules. But
So you're saying you went and you read them all and you learned them all.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Was there any like questions or any of that type of stuff?
There's always questions. I mean, for me, I'm very green in the industry. I played poker, but like I said, I'm green in the professional side of it. So even after I applied and I got accepted, there's a big part of me that says, don't do it," just because the the level of knowledge and responsibility is completely different from a dealer. I'm not saying dealers have it easy at any given point, but in honesty, there's a reason I'm smiling when I'm dealing with 9 players versus
Right.
like more serious when I'm dealing with hundreds of players in every aspect of the business.
Right.
That's why you see floors always running, a TC running around back and forth, back and forth. There might be a brief moment you might see us just relax, but during that time we're thinking about other things as well, making sure everything's running smoothly. And that's why when I first started, Leon was there to help me. Victor was there to help me. Victor was more of the overall support. Nick was the guy that actually said, "This is the way you should approach it. This is the things you got to consider. These are the reasons why we do." He doesn't just tell you that this is what
He
we
gives you
do.
why.
He gives you explanation, and sometimes the way people take him as like, well, he's kind of hard to approach. He's really not. He's probably one of the easiest guys to approach. You just have to understand he has a different teaching method, and you go in there if you go in there with an open mind with them, you'll be surprised how much you'll learn. And that's I give all props to Nick because, like I said, he was me when I was learning to be a floor. He's the one that taught me the most of all the floors, just because of the fact that he took the time And at first I didn't appreciate his teaching methods because it was different. Other people just pamper you and just tell you this is the way things are, these are the rules and so forth. He goes.
Yeah, he's a little bit sharp, but it's common in the casino industry, and it's like intelligent because he wants you
Yes,
to see the things that you need to know.
exactly.
Yeah,
So the way he explains it, he doesn't just tell you to do this. He explains to you why it's done.
yeah,
And after he explains it, he expects you to memorize it. Because if someone's willing to teach you, you should be at least be gracious enough to learn it and memorize it. Because they took time from their day, from their life to teach you something. So why would you not give them full respect by learning it?
that makes a lot of sense. Stacy Rogers says great show, and Stacy, I appreciate that, and also gave a super chat. I'm remembering now that I think this is the Stacy that has the unbelievably good voice for marketing. Sometimes Stacy will be at the table, and my apologies if you're not the same Stacy that I'm thinking of, but he'll be at the table and he'll be like, Truepokerdealer is here. I always get a huge kick out of that. If I'm wrong about who just gave the super chat, my apologies, but thank you so much either way, and I appreciate the compliment of the great show. Um, I'm just laughing. I haven't seen that particular Stacy in a while. That's really cool to know that that was your experience learning how to floor. Now, I want you to know that you could appreciate that even more than you already do, because it could have been anybody that you learned from,
That's true.
right?
Chris is amazing too.
But the habits that you get and the mentality that you get, not you, but anyone that's learning to be a supervisor, comes from whoever teaches you, because there is no place to go, which is why I keep thinking I want to do this, and I have an opportunity to build this course soon, so I think I'm going to do it. But that's a pretty typical explanation of how your training went to a degree. You got more time with the staff than a lot of people do. A lot of supervisors get thrown into it, handle the floor calls, run the room today, good luck, and man, is it messy. That's really cool to hear all that stuff. Now, when you went to do your first floor call as a supervisor, were there times where you had to like call someone over for help, maybe you didn't know what to do, or what was all that like?
Well, the very first floor call I went to, I remember I was going, oh God, here we go. I mean, because I have a set of rules in my head.
Right.
I'm thinking about all the different scenarios, why I'm being called over. I'm looking, as I approach the table, I see what's going on already. And yes, there's been times I'm like, hey, Nick, could you really use your help? I will explain the situation to him, and he'll break it down for me. And he'll explain to me why it is what it is. So
You're talking about in the moment or after the fact?
in the moment.
Yeah, and I highlighted that because it's important. People that just become supervisors a lot of the time, they think that they have to go in with this authoritative like hammer. And the reality is, if you don't know exactly what to do, you can still get someone else
Yes.
to just get it solved. The goal, like, because you know what it is, there's this mentality in poker, which I get it to a degree, where more hands equals more money for casinos that take a rake. And so they don't want to have to stop everything for a while, cost the casino money and all this stuff in order to get someone else that has more experience to come and get the right answer. But man, is it valuable to do that.
Yes. That's why I think a lot of players respect us, is the fact that if we're unsure about something, we will get the right answer for you. And the other floors are always there to support you. That's
Right.
the thing. You're like, if you're not sure, they're not gonna come up to you and laugh at you and go, "What's wrong with you?" No, they're like, "Okay, let's figure out what the situation is and fix the problem." And then afterwards, we all discuss it. That's the great part. We discuss the
Right.
decisions we make and move forward from there.
I was dealing in a tournament last night, and we had our black chip bounty 300 buy-in, and they were down to hand for hand with two tables, and you know how in hand for hand you're not allowed to like get up and go look at the other table and stuff
Yes.
like that. Well, there were players at my table that were sort of, the way that the rule was being communicated, they didn't feel like it totally made sense. And so the supervisor at the time offered, Eugene's playing poker over in this table over
Yep.
here. Would you like to have him come over and give the explanation in his own way? And so he comes over with his Texas Card House hat and his regular clothes, getting up from, he might have been playing PLO or whatever, and he just gives the explanation, right? And the supervisor could have just left it alone, not brought someone else over, and had it be about them being an authority figure and just giving an answer. But instead, they provided a better experience by taking away maybe from that exact moment and not having the focus be on the hand that's being played. And and all that stuff. It was about, to just get this figured out. So I'm glad that you feel comfortable doing that as a floor there. I want floors everywhere to feel comfortable getting someone else. Sometimes you have to call somebody.
We've done that before.
Right? Yeah, that's what happens. Sometimes stuff is so nuanced and like in the weeds for what actually happens at the table. You're just like I need to call. You probably called all the way up to Victor before
Yeah, for the bomb pot.
Yeah.
For the guys, for you guys who haven't played bomb pot, totally different game.
That's true. Man, is it weird having bomb pot tables?
Yes.
But I like it. It's pretty cool too.
And the thing is, the scenario you're talking about yesterday, I was right there watching the whole scenario. And the thing is, I'm on the cash side, so I deal with the cash side of it. Donovan was the floor for that one, and you're right, Eugene was over there as well playing, and I watched everything. And like I said, since I'm on the cash side, I deal with the cash side. We have tournament directors who are specifically trained for that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Stacy said that's me. I'm so glad that you're here and you're commenting on this. Then, man, he has the absolute best voice for talking about for a promotion thing. I'm reminded that I should reach out to him. I haven't been here doing live streams as much, so that makes sense too. So the specialists.
Yes.
Is what you're calling him basically for tournament specialist, right?
Yes.
And yeah, that's true. So Eugene is just doing tournaments only.
Now
another thing that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, we help out. I mean, we overlap on certain areas.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, if we get super busy and things like that, a tournament director will come in and make a floor ruling for the cash side. But typically, the cash floors would handle the cash side.
Right.
Tournament directors would handle the tournament decision.
You sort of have to have a room that's big enough in order to have there be separation like that. But Texas Card House Dallas has so many tables going all the time, and so it's a big enough room in order to have a specialist like that, which is cool and valuable. And I ran into Eugene at the WSOP standing out by the final tables, which was funny for me, in July, because I'm just like, of course he's here, right? That's pretty cool too. Man, there's so much about TCH Dallas. I feel like we've only scratched the surface about what makes it so amazing there too. I have the experience of having worked at other places, and there's nothing like this. The flexibility, the ability to be able to, I can't tell you how many times I talked to one person who he's worked in the industry for years. He had been loyal to the company that he worked at. He has a name for himself in the industry as a player, and he tried to get vacation 3 times and he couldn't get any days off. Nobody's able to pick up shifts at that particular property, and it's so hard to hear because at Texas Card House Dallas, I'm able to clear my entire schedule if I need to by just putting my shifts available and people will pick them up. I'm able to pick up shifts if I change my mind and I want to get those days back again. Like, you might not get the exact start time you want or something like that, and you might have to be a little bit flexible. If I can't get a day, I could hopefully finish somebody's shift on a given day. Like I can basically create my own vacation if I need to.
100%.
Just by putting my shifts available. And that's because it's a place that people actually want to be, right?
Exactly.
And it's a really cool thing. And I will say this too. We're lucky that we have a live stream in the room. The type of attention that brings to Texas Card House Dallas is something that's truly special. I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories about somebody that lives in some other part of the U.S., nowhere near Dallas, that knows about us because they watch our live stream. They become fans of the players in it. They become fans of the commentators in it. And it makes playing at Texas Card House a little bit sweeter too. And us getting to work there, dealing to these people, these are just people that we deal to, right? Like, they don't feel like, oh my God, this person. Until you step back a little bit and you realize we're in a situation where we're fortunate to be able to do that. Like you said that you like watching. Do you watch the live stream, by the way? The TCH live stream? I know you don't watch TV or anything.
Not really.
I'm just curious. But you see all of it in person.
I'm always working.
Right, yeah, of course. I mean, I get that, yeah. I mean, I have watched some of the live streams too, just because it is sort of interesting to me too at times. And then when I talk about it, people expect that I watch all of them, which I don't have time for. But uh, just the whole vibe and the way that the whole thing's been put together is really smooth and well run. And I'm very appreciative of the stuff that you've said that really helps capture it. You know, one of my focuses when I create content like this is I talk about things that I want to talk about. I'm not sitting here talking about this because Texas Card House asked me to paint a nice picture on this. First of all, Texas Card House trusts me to they trust me to be able to create content using Texas Card House's name. And part of it is because they're confident in what they made. You know, and part of it is because they just know that I'm not going to put a bad light on it. But there's nothing bad to put on it. I mean, the dealer complaints that I hear, which it's a poker room, so there are still dealer complaints. The dealer complaints that I hear are over such little details that are so not important to me. Instead of, I mean, nobody's questioning the integrity of the management. Nobody's questioning favoritism. Nobody's questioning these types of things through me, at least. And I love that we're able to capture that too. It feels good. It feels good being able to say this is a moment in history in Dallas where player after player after player is telling me as the dealer and the other people that come and play that this is the best room in the US, in the world, in order to come play because the action's the best, the way that it's run is the best, like all these things. They're appreciative, they're saying it every day, and we get to come in and be a part of that. And I mean, it's really cool, and it's all these little details, it's all these little things, like, and we're able to do this with one of the smallest bathrooms that I've ever seen in the whole world, and it still runs smoothly. It's just mind-blowing.
Oh, I have to agree with you on that.
It's
We have
just
an absolutely
crazy.
small bathroom, but we have an air freshener in there and everything.
No, it's, yeah, the bathrooms, I mean, you know, it took a lot of work, and I know
Yes.
that Victor put his own, like, elbow juice into, like, fixing that stuff. Nick does a lot of stuff with that, too. But the fact that it's able to be as good as it is, like, we don't have food service, but we make it work,
That's right.
you know? And there's a weird unintended consequences of not having food service, which is people can eat whatever they want in the room, right? You can order from anywhere as long as it can be delivered. And we don't stop people from bringing food in the room. We have BYOB, which is the club. I don't know how it works exactly with Texas because I haven't been here that long, but that's what the room is, and it works fine, and we have a great wait staff and all that stuff too. And by the way, what's it like, because for you as a supervisor, you manage the dealers, but people might not realize you also manage the cage, you manage the hosts up front, and you manage the wait staff too, right? Like the waitresses.
Yeah, whenever the floors for their scheduled shifts, we're in charge of every little aspect. Something goes wrong in the bathroom, say floods, because someone was extra.
Do you have any crazy story about having to deal with something in there?
Oh man, anything ever happens in the restroom, we, the floors, not the dealers, we go in there, we'll fix it. Or do our best to fix it.
Right.
So, plunger, I mean, every floor, that's the thing. The thing with the floors, we do every aspect of the job. You'll see us in a suit, we're literally in the restroom with a plunger. And everybody's happy to do it. Not because it's fun to do it, it's because we want everything to be successful. We care about the room itself. It's not just us working there as a job, it's working there because we love the company itself.
Right.
Because Victor and Leon created an environment where you want to be there, you know?
Yeah, and we should give credit to the ownership as well for
Yes, most of
creating
Ryan and
something
all those
amazing.
guys,
Yeah, to because Victor couldn't do this stuff without the flexibility to be able to say this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense. I mean, I want to do this, I want to do this over and over again. So
most
to give them credit too, for sure. Yeah.
And whenever I look back, I remember walking into this, just thinking about this last night, about doing this interview and everything like that. I try to think about all the negative aspects of when I was training, and the one thing that kept reiterating in my mind, going over and over and over to the point where I couldn't figure this out, was that even when I made mistakes, which will happen, even when I didn't understand things, I don't ever remember any of the management, like Chris, Leon, Victor, Nick, ever just breathing down my throat. They're like, how can we help? They've always been, how can we help? I mean, think about that. Their teaching method is, how can we help to make you a better person, a better manager, a better dealer, better whatever aspect you're trying to learn.
Well, a lot of it too is you get what you put out. You know, you get back what you put out, and you are somebody that has a mentality and a vibe where you're just being genuine. Like you just want help, and they see that, and they're able to reciprocate it. If somebody that works at Texas Card House Dallas today doesn't actually feel that, if they just make a little adjustment in themselves where they can slow themselves down and not worry about and create outcomes that they think are going to happen in their head and just be more simple about it and like do the job and try to learn and do the job and try to learn, it creates an amazing environment for
Yes.
that person. Yeah, absolutely.
And the opportunities have always been there. I'll give you a perfect example. A while back, Victor pulled me to the side, totally random, never expected just to be sitting down at a table. He asked me, "What are your long-term goals?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a dual rate right now. I'd like to become a shift manager. And how high do I want to go? I don't know. That answer I don't know. But what I do know is that I know what my next step is. It's the fact that he took the time before I was forced to ask him. He said, "Well, this is where you currently are. This is where you're saying where you want to be. This is where you want your schedules to be. Let's see what we could do as opportunities open up." I mean, he sat there and took the time to talk to me ahead of time. And he told me about his experiences. The fact that when he was working in the industry, it was hard for him to ever move forward because he never knew if there was an opportunity for him.
Right.
Victor sat down and told me, there is an opportunity for you. As opportunities open up, you are considered. I mean, think about that. It's the fact that I know there's more doors that are possible for me.
Which can be hard in the casino industry. There are definitely places that they have politics that determine who gets what position, etc. And it doesn't need to be like that. Like, that's awesome that you were able to get that feedback, and there's a lot of truth in it, you know. And it's really cool to hear that and see that. I'm thinking of like, I struggle because I don't want to name any places that I'm thinking of that are not Texas Card House in a negative way. I'm trying not to do that, but I think it's important to say, like, the right person doesn't always get the job in some industries. In Texas Card House Dallas, it's just not the case. And that is something that I do truly love about it. I mean, I know what it's like to work somewhere where I have to worry about somebody trying to make me look bad so that they look good. And now I know what it's like not to have to worry about that because I'm at Texas Card House Dallas. It's true. Like, I mean, I don't even know if you have experientially an awareness of what I'm talking about, but having there be other people that are sending emails that are trying to make you look bad because that will give them a better chance at a job and stuff like that. It's stuff that happens all the time in this industry, and it drives me crazy because if everybody works together, everybody can get the things that they want. You know, and you might make the statement, well, not everybody can get promoted at the same time. And it's like, listen, it's not about that. You know, having there be opportunities and having people work together and having it be more like a family. Texas Card House Dallas has multiple poker rooms. If a position opens somewhere else, there's opportunity there too. Like, there's a lot of stuff that can happen that a person can grow into. And I like hearing you say that because it's matter of fact and it's true. And yeah, that part of it, that's really cool to hear. I had another question I wanted to ask about, let me see, the amount of hours being able to work long days. Do you ever get tired? That's what I wanted to ask you. Do you ever get tired?
Yeah, it happens once a year at least.
Once a year at least. Oh my God. And the funny thing is, if you know you, I believe the exact thing you said is exactly true. So for me, I have been tired when I did the 68 to 70 hour work weeks. There was one time I was so tired I brought an ocean. I brought a 6 board card and an all in, and they're just like, what is that? I was like, oh my God. I brought an ocean.
That's not good. That's
but I mean, it's obviously
fun.
it doesn't play.
It doesn't
you know?
play. It doesn't play.
But I mean, I certainly have been probably more tired than I should be. But I'm pushing myself, right? I'm choosing to be here. I'm choosing to be in this situation. But you never been like actually really, really tired?
I mean, it happens. I hear about it.
Back in 2021, there might have been one day.
I think that one of the things, best way to describe myself is mentally, like I kept telling you, I feel like I'm 21.
Right.
And I see a lot of guys in their 20s, and it seems like mentally they're in their 70s. You know, I can't explain why that is for them. I just know for myself, one of the things that helps me in my life is that I've been at the lowest point in my life. I want to, it's not something for discussion, but it's
Right.
like, you know, I know what the lowest point in my life is.
You have perspective, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're ever at that point in your life, you feel like there's nothing else to go from there. If you could crawl yourself out of that place, no matter what else you face in life, it's easy.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, it gave me a new perspective. It gave me a new drive in life. The drive comes from inside. The mentality I feel every morning when I wake up, I feel like 21. My body sometimes feels like it's 100 years old. Don't misunderstand. I wake up with pain, my joints ache. I go through arthritis. I go through a lot of things that people don't have to deal with. But yet, mentally, I'm 21. So it doesn't ever bother me. When I come to work, I come with the feeling and attitude that, hey, I feel a lot younger than you. You know, you might be smarter, you might be faster, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, when you're sleeping, I'm working. When you're working, I'm working double. Yeah. So it's hard. If you're gonna beat me, it's not that. I mean, you'll beat me based on talent, or something like that. You're never gonna beat me based on the fact you gotta work me. That's probably the wrong direction for you to go.
I so this is me reaching out to YouTube. If there's someone that thinks that they can outwork Jay, maybe we could create an interesting competition. I don't know if labor laws would allow it, but I agree. I mean, there's a reason that Alfred called you the Iron Man, or the Machine, right? Iron Man is what I had in my head for like being able to work super hard. I have seen you so many times. I've been there at the poker room. And yeah, that totally makes sense. And perspective is such a valuable thing. The the first time that I hired someone to be a dealer that had come from the hotel industry, boy, were they happy to be a poker dealer, right? Because the hotel industry is grueling in a lot of ways, and then you come and you have this like, wait a minute, I get to have fun. I don't have to take it home every day. I don't have to be stuck here for super long hours. I'm not like out dealing with like how to get rid of bed bugs and all this crazy stuff. Like, yeah, the perspective is a very valuable thing, and it's weird to say I'm glad you went through that so that you can enjoy this, but at the same time, there's a truth to it, you know. And thank you for sharing that you went through something like that too. You know, life can be fun, life can be enjoyable, and you know, as a poker dealer, and this is where you started a couple years ago, you absolutely have the ability to make more money than you spend, right? And
100%.
that's what we're looking for, you know. And you don't even have to work full time as a poker dealer in order to be able to make more money than you spend. Now, what you do with your extra money can determine what your life is like, right? Like you can easily upgrade your life and then upgrade your expenses, and then wait a minute, now I need to work more in order to be able to afford it. Uh, the easiest way to not feel like you need more money is to not upgrade your lifestyle and not start spending more every month. But it's a really beautiful thing to be able to have this opportunity, and for you to come on this live stream and first tell me that you were 10 years as a 3 franchise owner and you like this better is mind-blowing to me. But at the same time, I get it, right? Because I have been in this industry, and I have worked at Texas Card House Dallas, which is a premier place for your experience as a dealer and as a supervisor. And it's really a beautiful truth, and I hope that it stays like this for as long as it possibly can. It's a collection of so many little well done things too. There's so many details that have to be done right in order to make a poker room like this. And the experience of the staff puts it all together into this thing that we call our poker room. You know, the funny thing is we haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible out here. Like, it's really interesting that we have a room that's busy all the time. We have great action, and we're limited in what we can do in Texas Card House Dallas because we've only got 26 tables. And there's a lot more that we would be able to do if we had more tables. And, you know, someday, hopefully, that changes where everything turns into an even bigger thing. But man, it's exciting to be in Texas for the beginning of poker. It's not the very very beginning, but it's pretty close, and it still feels like poker has a lot of life in it out here. Um, at times we see little things change, but it's cool to be in Texas for this. I was in Florida for 3 months earlier this year, and I did miss it, for sure. And I was doing something I really liked out there too, but the weather here is weird.
Oh yeah, but just give it 5 minutes. If you don't like the weather, give it 5 minutes.
How long have you lived in Texas?
Most of my life.
Most of your
I
life?
came when I was 3 years old, and I've been here since. So I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly.
There was one day I came to work and it was 76 out, and when I went home it was 34.
Yeah, that's Texas, baby.
I was like, what is going on? How am I freezing going to my car right now? That was in like December though. So really what happened is we were fortunate that it was warm during the day in December, Man.
Well, everything's bigger and better in Texas.
Yeah.
And if you like hot weather, yeah, we got that too.
Yeah, we do. I want to check my notes here. I haven't actually even looked at them at all. Let's see. Yeah, I actually covered everything that was on there, which is good. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming to spend the time. I mean, you didn't have to do this, and you chose to, which was really nice. And I think we did a pretty good job capturing what it's like. I mean, the real thing that I want is for somebody that doesn't work in this room to be able to just literally know what it feels like to work there, which it's so hard to capture that exactly. But the stuff that you talked about is pretty dead on. Like, my experience as a dealer there, I'm not being bothered by people. I have the ability to run my game, knowing the rules, but I can run it the way that I need to run it. The players are appreciative. The floors are appreciative. Actually, that's something that I want to be clear about. The floors are really appreciative and accommodating. I mean, going around dealer to dealer and asking them if they want to stay or go is mind-blowing. And at the same time, that's something I actually used to do that no one else would do as a supervisor. I wonder sometimes if Victor sort of learned that from me. I'm not sure if he did. I can't take the credit for it. But I know people used to love that. I know as a dealer, I love receiving, being asked if I want to stay or go. And then you get forced out if you need to be forced out. Which, by the way, you guys are so funny. I say you guys calling you a floor right now. You guys are so funny. The times that I get forced out, you're unbelievably apologetic. And I'm just like, that's normal. Like, what? Like, just, I have to go home because you need to force me out. It's fine. You guys are like, I'm so sorry. I have to force you out. I'm like, you're awesome every time.
It's all new to me, so.
It's true, yeah.
But the thing is, I'm always grateful to you. Every time I see you, I always remember that day when I first came across your video. You have to understand, I have no experience as a dealer. I've never dealt before. I don't know. I mean, seriously, I don't even know how to do deal cards. And just the fact that you told me how to deal cards, not for a minute, for an hour, or for days, but it's for a lifetime. You taught me a skill set that you taught me something. And thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
That's what you always
appreciate. Every time you say it, I'm always just like, whew, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand how much of an impact it would have when I created it. Like, I was confident in myself, my abilities to communicate, and all that stuff. And I was confident in my friend Jerry's ability to make it look clean and professional, which he certainly helped a lot with. I didn't understand what I was creating exactly when I started. I just knew that I wanted to, and I love what it's turned into, and I love meeting people like yourself who literally changed your path in life from how are you making money right before you became a dealer? Like, were you stressed financially because you would, oh no, you said that you had sold your thing, but still, right? Yeah, so you went from not really knowing what to do with your days.
My biggest stress was the fact that I wake up every morning wondering what am I going to do.
Yeah.
And playing poker is great every once in a while, but realistically, with my personality, I'm very extreme.
Right.
So I like to do something. I don't like waking up and having no direction. That's the worst feeling for a workaholic. You wake up, you realize, what are you gonna do? What do you want to do? Okay, let me try to be a real estate agent. Well, I thought it was a perfect field, and even though I thought everything lined up perfect for me, I got my license, tried it, realized this really wasn't my field. Now, for those who are real estate agents, great, all props to you. I just found for myself
Well, that would have been a job where you were doing it to make money, as it turns out.
that would be an
right?
actual job.
Yeah, this is dealing poker, and for you, being in poker is you're around a game that you like.
Yes, something I'm very passionate about, something very. I've come to realize the different aspect of it, the aspect that I really, really love, which is dealing. I'm sure dealing is not for everybody, but for me, this is my dream job at the dream location. And they will say the difference between a dream job and a hell job is always one boss away. Well, I got a lot of bosses that are amazing, so.
Yeah, that's true too, and including Mike in there as the new GM. There's so many people that are good people, that are incredibly experienced, that are happy to share that knowledge, and that is rare. And I see it continuing. Like I really do anticipate that this room is going to continue to be like that, with that environment, these types of people, and it's cool. They've been accommodating to me too in a way that you don't see in the industry, because I have had obligations where I've had to come and go at times, and I understand that maybe the way that I'm being able to do that is a little bit out of the norm, but I mean, look, this is a room where there's so much ability to be flexible, and that is intentional. It is built that way, and it's amazing. And yeah, hopefully the owners of TCH appreciate how much we appreciate this, and see it. I really appreciate you being here and sharing all this stuff, and I got nothing else. I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
You always got my number.
appreciate that too. We're gonna say goodbye now. Thanks for spending some time with us, everybody on YouTube. Whew. See you later today. We're gonna be at work. Yep.
We'll be at work.
Tonight. Yep. I'll be there at 4. He'll be there at 7. Take care. Man, I can't believe I fucked up in the beginning. It's so funny. So